Guys, so we are back with another episode of Doctor to Doctor on our podcast. And we thank you for joining us. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. And today I have one of my favorite guests, Trayvon from Your Writing Bestie. Thank you so much. I really need to get, those clapping things in the background, but we're working on it.
Thanks for having
And
me.
repeat, sorry.
I said thanks for having me. I love being here.
Of course, and we love having you. And today we're going to be following up on our last conversation. I know we spoke about marketing, wording in medicine and how that can help doctors, physicians, as well as healthcare workers just shape their brand and communicate well with their clients, their peers, and also just to express themselves better. And if it is that you did not see that episode, we will leave it in the links below and watch it. It is a must watch. And so today we thought that we would just follow up on that conversation because at the end of the day, a night, right? And when you think of everything, there is so much time in the day, and sometimes we feel like it's not enough. So, what we want to do is prioritize on strategies that work, strategies that help us to formulate systems that save us time. And I've been in conversation with you, Trev, and you have kind of introduced me to email marketing, right? And I'll probably have it running across the screen. So, email marketing. And so, I just wanted you to first tell us a little bit about yourself for persons who might be joining us for the first time, and then tell us what is email marketing.
Sure. So my name is Travan. I am the founder of Your Writing Bestie. That means that I write emails, blog posts, sales copy for usually small business owners. Email. So I'm sure we've all had an email address at this point in life. You have to have one, no matter what. And we get emails, right? So some of us may feel, oh, well, I don't really open my emails, but there is a whole industry around email marketing. People are making millions of dollars by sending emails. It's a very lucrative industry, and I think
Mhm,
all small business owners or even solopreneurs can really benefit from email marketing.
mhm, mhm. Nice. So, in its simplicity, like how does one get started with email marketing? Because I receive emails, but I've never thought about making email a business or even combining that as a tool for a business. What does that look like in terms of starting out?
So the very first thing you'd have to do is to find some type of email marketing platform. There are tons of them. You have MailChimp, uh, MailerLite, you have Kits. They used to be ConvertKits.
Mm-hmm,
Let's see. You have Flowdesk. That's a really good one.
mm-hmm,
There are lots of them, tons. And once you sign up, then you can get started. The first thing after signing up is figuring out how to get person's emails. So there is an ethical way to do so. Can't just steal emails. You're not supposed to buy email lists from others. Really and truly, that's not ethical. What you need to do is set up some sort of landing page and have some sort of exchange. So, for example, you sign up to my email list, I will send you a newsletter with XYZ things that you would want. Or you sign up for my email list and I will give you an ebook. Has to be some sort of exchange. And then you'd want people to opt in. So you have the double opt-in feature where once they sign up, they'll get an email saying, are you opting in to receive emails from this person? You select yes, you get on with it. So those are the first two steps. Finding an email marketing system or platform that you can sign up on, and then creating some type of landing page so that you can collect the emails. You can also collect them physically, like you can go around. People usually have booths insert like at an expo, and you can collect person's names and emails, but of course, let them know what you're going to be doing with their emails, right? You don't want to just add a bunch of people to your list and they're getting spam. In other words, they're getting emails that they don't want. You're going to destroy your reputation and they won't have trust in your brand. So you have to also just deliver what you tell them that you're going to deliver. And please don't email people too many times. People don't like that.
Okay, so it sounds like there's a lot behind email marketing in terms of strategy. So
Mhm.
what, so how do I make my email marketing strategy effective? Um, and let me give you an example. Say, for example, I'm a physician. I run a non-medical business. I'm a doctor, but I want to teach doctors how to sleep well because I realize, oh, doctors aren't sleeping well at night. And so I formulated this whole business plan about um, helping doctors to sleep well at night, right? In terms of vitamins, making sure they exercise, routine plan, and whatever. Now, how do I go about setting up my my email marketing strategy in terms of title? How, like, who do I contact? How do I get their contact in terms of the landing page? How do I make that landing page? Because I know it sounds, you make it sound so easy, but in my mind I'm like, all right, where exactly do I start? Can you break that down for me, please?
Sure. So the first thing is you need to set a goal. You need to set some type of goal.
Okay.
Why do you want to use email? What do you want to achieve? Right? So is it that you want an increase in sales? Are you looking for brand awareness? Are you looking for someone to, I mean, it really just depends on you. But let's say, for example, you created vitamins that do help doctors sleep well, and
Okay.
you want to get it out there and you want an increase in sales, right?
Oh.
Of course, we have to get specific as well. That's why we have SMART goals. You want a 10% increase in sales by a specific time, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you
Mm-hmm.
have to write that down. Fine. Next thing you do is figure out, okay, people don't want a ton of unnecessary things in their emails. So I need to show up with some kind of value. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
I know doctors want to sleep and I know my vitamins work, but at the same time, how do I convince them of that?
Mm-hmm.
Right? How do I convince them? And then how do I go about um, getting them to give me their emails and have me convince them? Of course, nobody wants sales emails. They're extremely important in business, but nobody really wants them, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have to move from a place of, okay, yes, I'm gonna sell them. First thing, provide some type of value. So
Okay.
let's say you created a, I don't know, a checklist, 10 ways to sleep better at night.
Okay.
And you're saying, this is what I compiled, I did my research, and I will send you this checklist for your email.
Okay.
So we're setting up a sort of exchange now. So they'll
Mm-hmm.
get something out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Or it could be a case where you do a weekly newsletter. Each week you put out a tip to help them sleep better,
Okay.
right? So we're providing value. It's not just, oh, I'm marketing my products. No, we're providing some type of value. The landing page would say all of that. So the landing page, for example, if you're going with the weekly newsletter, it's gonna say that on the landing page, right? You have to find nice, snappy copy that says, trouble sleeping. I'll provide one tip per week that will help you to sleep better. And then you put the thing there for them to put in their email. A landing page forms, and they're usually in the email marketing platform. So you don't have to set up a separate website. You can actually use the landing page builder that's usually in the email marketing platform. Like Kit, for example, I use that platform a lot. They have that there, then you just grab the link and put the link wherever you need to put it, whether it's on your social media sites, on your websites. People click on it, they get to see the landing page, right? After that, you send out the email each week. You can do a welcome sequence. That's something that I find to be very effective. So the welcome sequence is as soon as they send you their email and choose to opt in, then they get emails periodically. That's set, it's automated. So let's say you send them one email per day for 5 days. And the first one could be an introduction to you and your brand. Hi, my name is so and so. This is what I know about sleeping. I've always had trouble sleeping and I've tried a ton of different things. And so I'm really excited to help you get better sleep because I'm getting better sleep now and my life has improved, etc., etc. Day two, you could, I don't know, send them a checklist because in this scenario, we're doing the weekly newsletter. So day two, you could say, here's a checklist. Here is, something that I find would help. Day three, you could say, I also think that these vitamins help because this so person used it and this is what they said. Day four, whatever it is that you want. Day five, whatever it is that you want. It just depends. Of course, all of this would take time and energy to sit down and strategize, but that's kind of where we're going here with a welcome sequence. It's really you introducing yourself to your audience, letting them know who you are, how you're going to help them. You don't even have to hard sell in the welcome sequence. It's perfectly fine if you just give them a free link to something. And then on that page, they could also access the product, if that makes sense.
Okay. No, that does make sense. Um, Great. That is absolutely great details. All right. So I do have a follow-up question for you because I think a lot of people today are focusing more so on social media. And
True.
very honest, that's where I spend a bulk of my time and energy, because I think social media is a powerful lever. So why is it that people should know, is it, or should we know not social media, not focus on social media? Or is it a case of doing a hybrid strategy, or should I now be focusing on email marketing in 2025? What is the approach there?
So that's a really good question, right? I don't see it as either social media or email marketing. I
Mhm.
see it as more of a hybrid strategy because there are several advantages to using social media. But I would say you can use social media, therefore, to leverage your email. So use social media to bring people to your email. Why? We don't own our social media platforms. Yes, it has our names and likeness, but it's not ours. You own your email list. That is yours. If
That's
you're
fair.
leaving that platform, you can actually download the emails that you've gotten and transfer them to another email platform because the list is yours. You can't transfer your Instagram followers to another platform because you don't own your profile. So that's one thing I would say that people need to pay attention to. You remember when they'd have the blackouts and Instagram isn't working and Facebook isn't working and business owners were scrambling because it's messing up their marketing plan for the day. And I'm like, exactly. That's the point. You don't own them. And
Right.
you're subjected to any kind of blackouts that they have. If they go down tomorrow, your business should not fail. And so I
Gotcha.
think people actually do put too much into social media. And the
Mm,
second thing is, I mean, with email, you don't have to focus on an algorithm or following a specific trend and trying to do a whole bunch of different things because you have some people say, oh, there's no real algorithm and blah, blah, blah. But as users of the platform, we know that when we don't post often, people don't even see your post. They'll see it 2 weeks later and be like, oh, you posted, I didn't even see that. So we know there's something going on there,
right.
right? And it's not up to us, it's not in our control.
Mm,
And that's not great if you're actually trying to run a business.
I got you.
So with the email, it goes to their inbox. Of course, there are things that you have to consider. For example, if you have too many pictures in your email, the Gmail filter and others. Let me not even say Gmail. Your email provider may send it to spam. If you have certain keywords in your subject line like free, money, there are a variety of keywords that might send it to spam. So you're not in complete control because the email could go to spam, but it's still better because it's still your email list, and social media, you don't own it, unfortunately.
I want to touch on that in terms of people actually receiving their emails. Okay. So they have received my email. What separates my email from the rest? Because I'm sure, especially in my experience, I've been bombarded with different emails from different advertisement, work, personal, and I sift through and say, okay, what do I want to open? How do we make sure that our emails are opened?
The number one thing is to provide value in your emails. You want people to await your emails, right?
Mm.
As soon as you pop up in their inbox, they're excited. They're going to click it because they know they're getting something that they want. The second thing is, of course, the subject line. It does matter because you could have written a beautiful email and
Mm-hmm.
your subject line just isn't interesting.
Mm.
And so they don't click it. So you have to pay attention to subject line and you have to pay attention to value. I would also say that you could try and get some type of response from your email list by asking questions. People
Okay.
reply. When people reply to your emails, it also helps prevent it from going to spam because it tells the email provider, okay, this person wants to hear from this person. They're talking to them and they're opening their email. So we'll continue sending it straight to their inbox. So that's also something that you have to pay attention to. But in terms of the subject line, of course, you may not know what subject line your audience is looking for, and that's fine. There's something called A/B testing. So what you can do in the email platform is create two different subject lines. The email platform will send one to
Mm-hmm.
half of the list and one to the other half of the list, and it will give you an example of what kind of subject lines they're looking for because it will tell you, oh, 30% open this email with this subject line, but only 10% opened with this subject line. So you have an idea of what they're looking for. So we have to do that and pay attention to your stats, right? Or metrics. It's in the email platform, not just there for decoration. We have to look at them.
Okay. That's fair. Now, in our last conversation, we had spoken about how it is that people are using AI to help generate their emails and different templates. And sure, it can be very effective, but something that you said that stood out to me is that in the long run, the more that you sound like you is the more that your business will stand out. Now, I do want to take that point and bring it to emails because it is an extension of our business. So, in the formulation or formatting of our email, yes, we're adding value, but how do we strategically, or if it is that there is any strategy, how do we sound like us instead of sounding too salesy, but still being salesy, if that makes sense?
Okay. So it does make sense. So that's where branding comes in. You have to remember the kind of brand that you are, what kind of words you'd want to use, what kind of phrases you want to use. The thing with emails, and I find that business owners make this mistake a lot, is that they're not realizing that an email is not a blog post in the
Mm,
sense that you're not just shouting information at people. It's also not like a public speech where you're sounding overly formal. Yes, there are some brands that are very formal, and that's fair, but the point of email is to be you need to make it you need to personalize the email, right?
okay.
So one of the easiest ways to do that is to actually use the person's name, right? The email platforms have that built in where you say, hi, so and so, this is XYZ, and today I just wanted to check in. So my point is emails that tend to be more conversational. So the tone that you use, the words that you use,
Mm-hmm.
you have to pretend as if you're seeing them right in front of you and you're having a conversation with them,
Okay.
right? Because emails are personal. When you write an email, it needs to look as if you're speaking to that specific person, not that you're sending email to 1,000 people. even though you are sending it to 1,000 people, it has to feel as if you're speaking to them directly. And it's a skill to do that, but it can be done. You use
Mm.
short sentences. You're not sending them long paragraphs because we're not sending them a blog post. We're not sending them an essay. Lots of sentences, space in between. If your brand likes to use GIFs, you can include those. You can use emojis. You have so much more freedom with an email versus
Sure.
say social media, where they might say, oh, well, you can't say that, or you can't write that way, or there's just more freedom in an email, I find.
I get you. Okay. So what would you recommend as your first email in terms of the first email that you send to clients in building your email list?
I would say the first email would be a sort of introduction into who you are, who your business serves, what your business does, how you're able to provide value to this person. Because the truth is, we as business owners, I know we're very proud of our business and we like to talk about it. But to say this nicely, no one cares. We actually need to tell people how our business helps them. The
Okay.
focus will always be on the customer. Always, always. So it's not a matter of, oh, well, this is the business and we do this and we made these sales and blah, blah. You still need to relate it back to the person. Why are you telling them that? How does this help them? What are they going to achieve? How are you going to help them meet whatever goals that they have? That is what people want to hear. And I find that when business owners send out emails, they're just talking about themselves. Like, oh, we hired a new person. That I'm like, well, that's great, but customers don't care. So you need to make sure you tailor the email to your customer. So even with an introductory email where because of course they do need to know about your business, try to make it geared towards them and their goals and why they want to be on your email list and what they can expect from you.
Okay. How often am I sending an email? Once a week?
So
A
there
month?
is no set time. Some research will say, oh, you should send an email once a week or once every couple of days. It just depends on it, and it changes throughout the years. But I would say test it out, see what your audience wants. You can ask them. That's another thing that's great about emails. You can actually put a poll in the email and ask people what they want, what they want the email to be about. Can always send those out. And what I like to do is put that in the welcome sequence so that it's automated, right? So I like welcome sequences. I know I've said it probably 5 times now, but they're really good because they go out automatically. You don't have to sit down and write them each time. You write them one time, set it and forget it, and you'll be able to. So, for example, someone signs up to your email list. You don't need to send a welcome email. Like, you don't need to sit down and type out a welcome email for every single person that signs up. You
Mm.
set it as an automation, and every time someone signs up, they get the same welcome email,
Mhm.
right? The next day, you send something else. You can do a poll. You can say, what topic do you want us to discuss more? What are you struggling with? What things have you tried that haven't worked? You find out so much more about your audience, and it's going directly to their inbox, so that's great. I find that on social media, most of us just scroll, like we see something and say, oh, that's cute, and you just keep going, right? So I feel
Yeah,
like in an email, especially if they're professionals or business owners, they tend to pay a lot more attention to their inbox than they do to their social media platform.
I get you. And I guess you're looking more for professional emails. Like when I go to my email, I have a professional mindset versus when I go to social media. So I guess you can take advantage of that shift in mentality as well. But I do have a question, of course. Um, Based upon what you do in your business, is this something that you do with your clients, and how do you help your clients make sure that they have the perfect email sequence?
Okay, so I don't know if there's anything as a perfect email sequence. Everything is trial and error. But
Fine. That's
what I usually do is
mm-hmm.
figure out what it is that they want to get out of their emails. You know, do they want more views on their blog? Because for some people, that's a part of their email strategy. They have a blog, they don't feel like a lot of people are reading it. And so we can set it up in a way where we pick some blog posts, we send it via email. We don't just copy and paste the blog post, of course. You see the blog post, you have the topic, and you say, okay, let me create an email using the blog post as a guide and then linking it to give them more information. So email is also great for repurposing content because business owners do tend to spend a lot of time creating content and a lot of it does not give them the outcome that they want. But the truth is you are supposed to be repurposing your content. You don't just post the blog post and say, oh no, nobody's reading it, move on to the next thing. No, you can actually use that blog
Great
post
me up.
to
Great me up. All right. Continue.
it happens all the time.
Happens all the
So you
time.
are supposed to repurpose it because you might have an audience on your social media that you don't have in your email. And
Okay.
somebody who's reading your blog may not have signed up to your email. So you're supposed to interconnect everything.
Okay.
So once we find that out now, whatever goals that they have, let's say they wanted to sell more ebooks, right?
Okay.
I
Yeah.
usually try to find out what is the topic of the ebook. Let's
Mm-hmm.
say it's, I don't know, um, how to help people sleep better. I don't know. So
Right.
that's the topic of the ebook. Then I can say, okay, we can create a weekly newsletter where we give tips,
Mm-hmm.
right? And maybe they want to sell the gummies. Well, let's go with the gummies. Want to sell sleeping gummies. So come up with a weekly newsletter. And the aim is to sell more gummies.
Right.
Once we get them in, we have our welcome sequence where we tell them about us, the company, how we can help. You
Mm-hmm.
can use one of those sequences to say, you know, this person tried it and this is what they think.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it really just depends on the product and your audience and all of that. But then you will send sales emails. So that's the other thing that business owners don't do enough is to send out a sales email. It's either they only send sales emails or they don't send them at all. That is what I'm realizing that a lot of people do. So
Okay.
if you're only sending sales emails, people aren't going to buy anything. Nobody wants to be sold to constantly. And then if you're only sending, hey, what's up? Um, I have this blog post you should read, but you're not selling your product at all and you're not achieving the goal. So what you have to do is find some type of balance where you send out emails with information and value as well as sales emails. And the sales email goal is to sell the product. So those are written differently than the others.
Right.
So you have to create a whole email marketing strategy where you figure out
Mm-hmm.
when you're sending the sales emails, how you're doing the welcome sequence, how you're doing the emails that are just about connecting with your audience. All of that has to be done. And that is what I usually do for my clients. Sometimes I mix them a bit in the sense that I have a monthly newsletter, mostly focused on value, but I might include a link to their ebook in there depending on the topic. So sometimes what I would do is this month the topic is, I don't know, work-life balance. And if you
Mm-hmm.
have an ebook that is sold and it has to do with how to unplug, then I'll put the ebook in the email, right? So it's not really a hard sell, but it is there and everything's related. So yeah.
Okay. Awesome. And as we wind down, because I know with new things, it can come, there is a learning curve and it takes time to adapt and to integrate into our system, into our business. Um, do you recommend somebody who is starting out, say, the sleep doctor? You know, I might capitalize this, the sleep doctor, right? Um, so I have my sleep gummies for healthcare workers. Uh, I'm already dealing with operations. I'm already dealing with accounting. I'm already dealing with all of that, and I'm now kind of trying to incorporate this. Would you say this is something I should try on my own or get help and then learn, like ease into it? Like how does one approach that from my perspective, the client's perspective? What is the best way to now go into incorporating email marketing?
I mean, it really just depends on the person, right? Because as business owners, we all have different skills that we have and bring to the table. So for me, as a business owner, I don't usually outsource writing because I'm a writer, right? You have other business owners that maybe they're great at graphics and they love doing graphics, even if the business isn't just graphics, but they might choose to do that aspect of the business, but they're not strong writers, so they outsource that. So my point is, it really just depends on the person, what they want, what they have time for. If email marketing is completely new to you and you have no idea what you're doing and it feels overwhelming, you can just hire somebody to set it up for you. At the very minimum, they can set it up for you, set up the automation, and you can work out something where they write the emails. It just depends, right? So that's what I would say. Figure out if it's something that you personally want to learn. I do think business owners would benefit from knowing a little about each thing that they do, but they don't need to be an expert in all the areas of the business. That's why other experts exist. So
That
I would say you could even hire somebody on a project basis to say, you know what? I'm going to hire you to do the landing page, a welcome sequence, and we'll take it from there, right? Or hire them to set up the email platform for you, like set up the account,
mhm.
show you what to do, because that's another thing as well. You could go on a Zoom call and they explain what it is that you'd have to do, how to do it, all of that. Fine,
Got
right?
you.
But like, don't be afraid of delegating. If it's not your thing, it's not your thing, and that's okay. But there are people out there that is their thing, and I'm one of those people. I love email marketing. So for me, it's nothing, but for some persons, it might feel overwhelming.
I got you. Well, that's it is I think it's refreshing to know that you are here to help us, our community, if it is that we ever do need your help. And I think, I, just looking back at it, because to be very clear and transparent, I did try the email marketing with your help, of course, and I wasn't getting the response I need. I thought I would have gotten, but it's, as you said, I may have not been doing what you have proposed in terms of sales, you have the sales aspect, then you have the value added aspect, you have the information aspect, and I think that's very smart. And I just thank you for all the knowledge that you're sharing with us today. And in closing, we appreciate you for being here. We do love having you on. And people, um, as Trev said it, as she said, email marketing is a staple. As physicians, I understand how difficult it is to manage business while still serving the community in the position that you hold, whether a nurse, whether a doctor, whether physiotherapist. I understand how difficult it can be. So I do believe that email marketing is a staple in 2025 and moving beyond, and it is important for us to use this and add this as a tool to help supplement our business strategies. So thank you so much, Trev, for bringing that to light. And hey, ensure that you follow Trev on all our pages. Where can we find you?
You can find me at Your Writing Bestie on Instagram. You can find me there on LinkedIn, and that's the website. But I have something to add
Sure.
about email marketing. So, just like with social media, where you have to consistently put in the effort and the energy, you can't just post one time or two times and call it a day. It's the same thing with email marketing. You can't email them once or twice and just leave it alone, right? It's
Got
best to start the list before you even want to launch something big, because once you build up that rapport with your audience, when you're ready to launch something, they're all ears. They're ready
you.
to listen to you because they know you, right? So
Okay.
even if you're not ready to sell something yet, I would recommend starting the list from early
Mm,
and getting in their inbox, building that connection, building that trust. So
Mm.
that's the last thing I'll say. Of
Well, I think that was a mic drop. Thank you so much. And we look forward to the next episode, Trev.
course.
All
Thanks
right,
for
guys.
having me.
Thank you so much. And ensure you drop a like, you subscribe, and tell us what else you would love to hear from your writing bestie or even just from the channel, and we will bring it to you. All right. Until next time, blessings.